What's up, guys? Here we are. Welcome to episode number 33 of the Monster Motivator TV. We are excited to have our guest on today because, as you guys know and as you saw in the promo, and you've heard me say it over and over and over, the baddest human being on the planet is a good woman. By far, bar none. And any of you men out there that don't agree, you're either living under a rock or you're not being honest, because a good woman can do it all and still ask for more. And we are confined to one thing, and then once we get that done, then we can focus on the second thing. That's just our DNA. That's just reality. That's the way nature made it, unfortunately for us. And I'm excited to introduce Janel Keas. She is the executive director of SMURF. Now, it's not the SMURF that you're thinking of. We're going to explain what this SMURF is. And it's a really, really cool organization that really gives back. And let me introduce Janel and let her explain who she is, what the organization's all about, and then how you even got involved. And we'd love to hear a little bit of your story, where you started, how you got here, and where you see yourself going, especially with this organization. So they want to know who you are.
Okay. Are you sure? You really want to know who I am?
Buckle up, right?
Buckle up. You're going to go for a ride.
Okay.
Single Mothers United in Rewarding Fellowship. That's what SMURF is.
Single Mothers United
in Rewarding
Fellowship. Break that down for us a little bit.
Well, if I could start with how SMURF got started. It's been around for 15 years.
Okay.
And it was started by a gentleman. He and his wife were in a Sunday school group, and every Christmas during the holidays, the church would pass around names of the community where they could give a Christmas basket. He and his wife seemed to always get single mothers' names for some reason.
Okay.
And so they were in these homes of these single mothers, and he started looking around and just realizing they don't have any resources here. There's very little support. Right. And so he felt it was placed on his heart to start a place that they could find that kind of support.
Yeah, because most don't even know where to turn.
Exactly.
Right?
And so the United in Rewarding Fellowship, there's really something about coming together with a common denominator. Yeah. So whether we're women, whether we're single mothers, and it's nice to be able to group together because then you find commonality in that. And so that's what he did. Empower, most definitely. Yeah. So that's what he did 15 years ago this November. It'll be 15 years that the organization has been in place. In 2005, it became its own corporation and 501c3. So SMURF is not administered by nor funded by any church or any other organization. We're a standalone entity.
And who is that? Who founded it?
Paul Kaufman.
Okay, Paul Kaufman. Now, is he still involved?
He's not still involved. He retired 3 years ago, and he stays busy. He is a wonderful entrepreneur and visionary. Yeah. He has a gift of networking and connecting people. So
I'd love to meet him.
Yeah. Perfect person to get things started. Yeah. And then he stayed with it for 10 years and became known as beloved Papa SMURF.
Oh,
so that's
awesome.
And he still keeps that title.
That's awesome. Well earned.
Well earned.
Yeah.
Yeah, well earned. As the organization grew and the program grew, and it became solidified as a Sunday night program. Okay. So that was where they could meet.
So it just started out as one night?
It's just been one night. Okay. It just remains the one night. Oh. Okay. And so the program itself is where moms come and have a program for themselves, so there's speakers. Okay. And the speakers talk about any range of topics, basic car maintenance, parenting, budgeting. I've had a pregnancy resource director come in and talk about how to talk to your kids about sex. Yeah. Just
real life.
Absolutely real life. Okay. Relationships, how not to do them, how to do them. So if you need answers, come to SMURF. Anyway.
No, that's awesome.
So awesome. That's what the single moms find. And then at the same time, the kids have their own program. And so there's 5 classes that the kids are divided into according to age. Okay. And then this is 90 minutes long. It goes from 5 to 6:30. At 6:30, the moms go fetch their kids from the classroom and come back to the program room, and they're fed a free meal every single Sunday. So, and the meals are provided by restaurants or care groups, Bible studies, all kinds of Lions Club donates.
So if someone's watching right now and they want it, or they're going to watch this when we replay it, and they wanted to come Sunday night, did they have to register? What's the process?
The membership fee is $2,000. No, I'm kidding. It's not kidding.
I was going to say.
No, it's free.
I was going to say, he does know how to set up a business.
It's free. free. It's
Okay.
absolutely
No,
free.
okay, but do they have to register? They
No.
could just walk in?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they
Okay.
just walk in. Our website is smurfmom.com.
Okay.
And so the meeting place address is on there. I have an office, the Smurf office. It's actually been there for 10 years. It's down in Old Town Temecula, so it's a different office. And then our mailing address is a P.O. box. So those three addresses are all on there. So if you need to reach
And
us.
when we share this, we'll have all your information. Plus,
Okay.
we have it on the promo.
Yeah.
So let's find out a little bit about you behind the curtain. So where'd you grow up? Where'd you what have you done? What is your experience to get you as executive director, right, to this organization?
Life.
Yeah,
That's how
it.
and how it brings you to a place. And there was
the
many
University
years.
of Hard Knocks.
Yes, most definitely.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Proud member, I guess.
Yeah, me too.
I paid my membership fee. Did you?
yeah, I keep paying.
Yeah, I do too.
They didn't tell me it was going to be passive income for them.
Exactly. It just keeps coming. Royalties. For
Yes,
it.
yes.
So that life definitely Midwest. I'm a Midwestern girl. I was born in Nebraska,
Oh, wow.
and then when I was 9, we moved to Arkansas, the northwest corner of Arkansas, and spent most of my growing up years there.
The heartbeat.
Moved to
the heartbeat.
Oklahoma. Yes,
Wow,
absolutely.
Okay.
And from Oklahoma, I joined the Marine Corps and did boot camp in Parris Island, South Carolina. And then from there, my first duty station was Okinawa.
Wow.
And then from there, went to Camp Pendleton.
So let's back up a little bit. Now you have my interest. Now you have my interest. So how did you? What made you go into the Marine Corps?
School.
Okay.
I
With
was
the
working.
Marines,
I was
like-
working 2 jobs.
Okay, you
I
could
was
have went to
working
Navy.
two
You
jobs.
could have went.
I could have,
But
but there was nobody in the recruiting offices.
All right.
I went
okay.
down.
Okay.
I have pastors in my family
Okay.
on both sides.
Okay.
I have one uncle who was in the army,
Okay.
but I wasn't particularly close to him. As much
Okay.
as I love him, but I didn't know much about. I didn't know there were different branches of the service.
Wow, that's all right. Hey, listen. I'm just curious. I mean, that's a pretty cool
So,
story.
When I was working
Yeah.
2 jobs and trying to put myself through school, and it just wasn't working. And I heard that the military, you could get
Yeah.
some schooling while you were in the military, and so I was like, great, let me sign up. So I went down and went into the Naval office, nobody was there. Went into the Air Force office, nobody was there. I went into the Army office, nobody was there. I went into the Marine Corps office, and there was a gunny behind that.
You just have to show up, and you can close the deal. Whoever shows up closes the deal. So then you went in, and
he closed the deal.
he sold you.
He did. And the thing is I was supposed to go to officers training school,
Okay.
and because that was my goal, is to go
Right.
through college. And so when I went in the second time to fill out all the paperwork or sign all the paperwork, it was all done. He got off the phone and he said, you've been going to school for a while. You want to change it up a little bit? And I was like, sure. And he goes, you want to do boot camp first? And I said, yeah, I might as well. That'd be nice. It's just change things up a bit. So he switches out a bunch of paperwork and I signed. And what I didn't know was that the call that he had just gotten was a female that had just gotten a DUI. And so she was on her way to boot camp, but there has a certain period of time has to pass before.
There's a window before.
Correct.
Okay.
So he had just lost somebody off of his quota and he needed to fill it. What I didn't know was that it was enlisted boot camp and not.
Yeah, he was licking his chops.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was. Okay.
So
all right.
blonde and he was for it, and I,
Hey, listen.
sometimes this serves me, sometimes it really doesn't. So anyway, that's how I ended up.
So you found yourself in boot camp.
In boot camp.
How was
it? It was.
Was it harder than you thought?
No.
No.
No, I mean,
Okay.
I just was physically fit at the
Okay.
time, and so all of those kinds of things. I guess the thing, I wasn't raised with people yelling in my face.
Yeah.
But the women were very, very strict about the rules. The drill instructors were very strict. So while we would hear platoons and of males and the drill
A
instructors
little different level.
swearing at them, we were never sworn at.
Okay.
Never, not once.
That's interesting.
And they would be right in your face.
Yeah,
And then the level that a woman's scream can reach, the pitch, makes your ears bleed.
Yeah, it's
so,
it's a different
anyway.
level. Yes, women bring it to a different level.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
I'd rather be yelled at by a man.
And
frankly.
Honestly,
I would.
on every you're not going to find a bigger fan of a good woman. I'm a big UFC fan, right?
Okay.
They lost their main card 24 hours before to do their pay-per-view, and the women's fight became the main card of UFC 200, and probably rewind the clock about 5 years ago, Dana White, who's the president, said, we'll never have women fight in the UFC. And now they became the main card, right? Because they bring it.
Never say never.
Oh, and they bring it.
Actually, that's how one of the things that I would tell my children all of this time, never and always is very rarely true. Try to rarely use them, because honestly, never,
right?
You know what I mean? Or always.
And it's just not realistic.
Well, and they would say, Mom, you always let her go first. I'm like, well, that's just not true. So don't use that word. You're not allowed.
And it's not true. So we're just going to throw that out.
Yes. You can't have it anymore.
So now you get out of the boot camp.
Yeah, boot camp, and my first duty station was Okinawa.
Okay. And
so spent a little over a year there. The orders were messed up, and all of my furniture ended up back in the States, and I was there without any job because I wasn't attached to a unit anymore because of the orders and everything.
So what did you do? You just
hung out in the barracks room that I had been, and would go out and
they just said, hold tight until we get this straightened out.
Yeah, and then the story of trying to get back home was kind of interesting as well. But I mean, I could save that for another time. I'd rather talk about SMURF.
We will. I just want them to get to know you a little bit, because listen, that's an awesome story. That's a great story. That is a great lead in, because it people want to know who you are. Right.
Well, and the thing is, people assume that the Marine Corps shaped me and my personality, and it's just that couldn't be further from the truth.
Okay.
One of the words that was used to describe me fairly frequently, more than 10 years, I'm happy to report, but was abrasive. I've always been quite blunt and abrasive and very little filter. So God's done a lot in my heart and my life in the last 20 years that has softened the edges quite a bit.
Let me tell you, you would have fit right in where I grew up. I'm from Jersey, so I'm from the East Coast, and that's all we know. So you would have fit right in.
You just say that's just what it is.
But being transparent.
But there's some love there's love that can, truth, if it's not delivered with love, is just cruel.
Oh no, the intent. Intention is everything, right? If the intention is pure, then I believe that trumps everything. But because at the end of the day, right, you're not going to make everyone like you. You're not going to connect with everyone. And if you try,
everyone likes me.
I know, right? And I know for sure not everyone likes me. But at the end of the day, I believe it's intention. What's your intention? If it's not pure, then that's different. But if it's really pure and you mean well, then I say run with it.
And I would add to that for me, the word would be love. If it's coming from a place of love. So if you're sharing truth from a place of love, and if the relationship is one that is appropriate for truth. Often I would speak, something to somebody that I didn't have the kind of relationship where I had that.
You didn't feel like you were allowed.
I didn't have the honor of being able to speak into somebody's life like that because they didn't know me and I didn't know them. It was inappropriate.
Yeah.
But coming from a place of love inside, even just a friendship, acquaintance, it just kind of depends, I think.
Yeah. And I always say, because I am very blunt and I'm very forward a lot of the times, that's the kind of the way I live my life, is if I do get asked my opinion and we're not at that level, I'll say,
do you mind
if
I share? And I'll say, do you mind if I share?
Because I'm going to be real. I'm going to keep it real, and I pride myself on that. But I agree with you 1,000%. I'm not going to go and tell somebody how to be a parent or tell somebody how to live their life if they're not asking me that first, right? It's just not. I'll share a lot of great information that's helped me out over the last 17 years with personal development. But I always say to people two things. If anybody in the personal development world tells you that they created something new, run. Because this all goes back to the beginning of time. And secondly, whatever is shared, take what works and throw out the rest.
That's right. I tell the SMURF moms that all the time, and I'm really, really honored and privileged that I have a platform to be able to share my life experience.
Yes.
And then having gone through the last 20 years of my life that have been really very difficult and bittersweet. But being able to share that kind of wisdom and the maturity that comes from that, and have the platform to do it.
So here's what I want to ask you.
What do you want to ask me?
Okay. So because you have that platform, because you connect with it so well,
and I know the answer to this, but I just want you to say it.
Then it's a rhetorical question.
No. I want you, because not everyone knows this answer.
All right.
And it's just not me and you.
Oh,
right?
That's
Okay.
right. There's other people here.
Millions and millions. No,
120.
because you have that platform, because you can do that. How much has that helped you?
It's walked me through.
Therapy-wise.
It's walked me through an addiction.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
So
There you go.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah.
I mean, so.
But I had to be honest through it.
Yeah, of
it
course,
couldn't be.
Of course.
It couldn't be. I mean, there's always going to be things that are appropriate to share in a group setting versus a one-on-one individual setting. So those graphic details aren't obviously shared.
No.
But the struggle of what it is and the realization. This is another thing I tell my SMURF moms all the time. Life is so overwhelming, and the things that are your journey is yours, and mine is mine. And for me to tell you how to walk your journey is incredibly inappropriate. And it also impedes often the other individual from truly healing. That if I give you the freedom to walk your journey just as you need to, then the healing that you need to have happen in your life, I can watch that happen. And so when I tell my moms, the journey that you're on, you need to have the freedom to do so. And you can find that at SMURF, because you need to be free to talk about the things that you're dealing with on your journey. If we need to have a facade so that we all look like we belong together for some reason, then the things that really need to be switched or changed in our lives and for us to grow and have an enriching life never come up to the surface.
You're going against nature. It's just not real.
It's not real.
So
yeah.
I 100% agree, and I love that you use the word facade, because I use this analogy a lot. It's the people or the circumstances, right? The white picket fence or the Hollywood screen set where it's the house, but you open that door and there's nothing behind it. It's just a stage set, and a lot of people want to try and live their life that way, and it's just not accurate.
Well, and when you say a lot, you're talking about literally everybody out there, and the ones that aren't watching are probably on the street. I interface with the homeless community quite a bit, and one of the conversations that I had with a gentleman, and he says, "Why don't they want to see us?" And I said, "It is because you are the representation, you are raw of what is behind closed doors. You are the substance abuse that's going on behind closed doors right now with prescription drugs. You are the sexual addictions. You are the mental challenges.
Oh, God.
You
Knuckle
are.
That up.
It is raw right in front, and they don't want to see that. And I get it. I get it. You just want to stay behind your closed door and the pretty fence. But the reality is our children are not being raised as whole individuals because they have been either told that they're broken, and so therefore they are owed subsidy by the community or their government, or they're told it just doesn't exist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just pretend it's not there. Mom and Dad did.
Yeah.
So this is apparently how I'm supposed to get through life. I'm either broken and you owe me subsidy, community. Subsidy. You owe me a lifestyle just because I'm a victim.
Right.
So we have the entitled thing, and then we also have those that it just doesn't exist. We never confront it. We never meet it.
I'm more passionate about the second because, and I'll be honest, and here's my frame of mind is, you're right. I spent 17 years in a city called Camden, New Jersey. I worked in Camden, New Jersey, North Philly, Southwest Philly, West Philly, for 17 years as a fire restoration. Wasn't allowed to carry a gun. I had rental properties. I was in those cities more than I was in my own neighborhood. So I lived the inner city life, and I saw it's a different world. Yeah. There's different rules. There's different laws, and a lot of things that are going on today. We have a lot of people talking on things that they never even experienced.
Correct.
They have no idea, and the majority of these politicians that are talking on this subject would only go through the cities. The inner cities with armed guards, right? And you can Google Camden City. They did a whole episode, on like Discovery Channel or something. It is like a third world country.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's as rough as you can get. But my point is the second area that you talked about is much more passionate to me because Yeah, they are told that they're going to be, the government needs to pay their bills, that they're going to be on that crutch. But I'm also a firm believer that there is a responsibility once you become an adult. You need to take that responsibility on. And I also believe that it goes back to the parents. Somebody somewhere needs to take responsibility somewhere along the line.
Okay, but if I can interrupt
Sure.
you, that's why SMURF exists, is
Yes.
because I have a passion for single dads too. They're going through stuff too. It's not just single moms.
You want to help
Okay.
I mean, listen.
But all I have right now, I just have,
Right.
I have an organization for single
Right.
women, single mothers. Okay. But the thing is that when lack of hope is transferred from generation to generation.
Agreed.
So if you, as the single mother, do not have hope, you have no aspirations, you have no dreams,
Agreed.
those have been crushed, they have been stripped from you, or you just never knew you had any or had the ability to get them, then that is passed on to your children. And the children are being raised in the same way. Then they are being passed from household to household.
Agreed.
I get it. This is where we are with our families now. You know, I can't fix marriage. I can't fix, that kind of thing. But this is where we are. So we have to meet the issue right where it's at. And we have to help parents parent in a harmonious way so that those kids can be raised whole.
Agreed.
So we have whole human beings
Agreed.
being raised in our community.
100%.
And this is what SMURF
Okay.
is. I mean, I'm telling you, this is the absolute mission, is empowering mothers so that they can have, I believe one of the privileges that I have is creating opportunities for them to shift their perspective. I'm not going to rescue you. SMURF isn't going to rescue you. And quite honestly, God's not going to rescue. He didn't rescue me. I've been through bankruptcy, divorce, foreclosure. I mean, I've been through all kinds, living in my car. I've been through a lot of, he didn't rescue me from those kinds of things. But he was there. He was there. And it took me having to do the things that I needed to, do. And then often it felt like, life was just not fair and not responding the way that I expected it to. But at SMURF, when they come, there's a period of time where they need to soak. They need to soak in joy and they need to soak in hope. And then I tell them often, I need to let you know that perspective needs to shift. So look for those things. It would be like saying, what is that thing over there? Well, let me stand over here a couple of feet. Oh, well, it's a dog. Well, I still don't know whether it's a friendly dog. I don't know what its name is. I probably can't see what kind it is. But now I have options. I have some choices. I can call out to the dog. I can walk towards the dog. I can walk away from the dog. I can call somebody and say, oh my God, there's a dog. I mean, I have options now because I can see it. And that is the power of shifting our perspective, is because you see your situation, you see yourself, you see your children, you even see your ex or whatever turmoil is in your life, you can see it different. Now you have choices. Now you have options. Now there's something you can do.
And I liked what you said. They have to soak it in, and also because there are different personalities, there are different situations, there's different experiences, life experiences. Some might need to soak it in longer than others.
That's right.
Some might need to soak this in versus that in.
That's
right.
right.
And that's
There's no formula.
No.
There's no formula for you as
there's
an
no
individual.
playbook.
No.
For being a parent,
No.
being in life.
No.
That's why.
So why would I have a program that
exactly.
says within this many weeks
Exactly.
or that?
No, you
thing?
can't. You
No.
can't. You can't.
No. And so we don't do that.
No, because it's just not accurate. It's just
But
not
they
right.
know. Here's the thing. They know. They will come up to me and say, Janel, I'm saturated. All right, you ready? Are you going to go back out into the community? Are you going to start serving at your church? Are you going to start serving at your school? I have women that volunteer at the Red Cross. I have women that volunteer, at different organizations. Some volunteer within SMURF. I had one of my SMURF volunteers 2 weeks ago. She came up to me and she handed me a couple of cards. And she goes, Janel, one of the SMURF moms gave this to me to give to you. And so I opened them up and I'm like, oh yeah, they're gas cards. At the end of the program, the founders started this tradition that at the end of the program, we raffle off gas cards or food box vouchers or different things. And they're not worth, this $25 or whatever, but I mean, just anything. When you've arrived on fumes, you know what I mean? It's awesome. Yeah. So, but because of the transition that SMURF has been in the last couple of years, and it's been pretty challenging financially, SMURF hasn't been able to afford to do that. And so I just tell the moms, hey, this is where we're at. And they're like, I don't care. I come here for more than that. So rock on. So she brings me these cards, and there's these GATS cards, and the volunteer said, Janel, why is the SMURF mom giving you GATS cards? And I said, because she's saturated. She's been blessed. And she wants to give back to so the other moms can experience the same thing. And the volunteer, her eyes welled up with tears, and she was like, oh, that's the sweetest thing. That's the culture that is SMURF now. It's not, let me arrive and see how much I can get free from this organization that makes freebies for us. It is, I'm soaking this in, and then now how can I give back? What I didn't tell that volunteer is that woman had just had an altercation with a family member with some mental challenges that very morning, and had called me on the phone just needing a little bit of encouragement. So walking through it, she's still in the midst of a pretty rough situation,
and still found it in her.
Still,
I mean, that
and it just
talk about a success story.
Yes.
I mean, that's a real success story, because you're just changing. You're honestly,
the perspective is,
and not only perspective, but I want to go deeper. You're really changing the self-image of that person, and I believe that's the epicenter of all of us, right?
Yeah.
We cannot outperform our self-image, but we can build it up. We can tear it down. See, that's the success story of.
And that's success.
That's real.
I had a gentleman say, now, Janel, do you follow the women once they graduate? And I knew what he meant when he said graduate, get married. Dude, it's not my mission to that's not the ultimate. That's what he meant. He's old. Just old. Different generation. It's okay. It's all right. It's all right. But there are still those with the philosophy or school of thought that being married is the epitome of what. Right. And I knew what he meant, and I said, you know what? It's not SMURF's mission statement to get single mothers married, nor is it to raise their income level. Honestly, that's not our mission. Our mission is to empower them in such a way that they have such full and colorful lives that they don't even have time for SMURF anymore, because their lives have just blossomed, and it leaves room for others who need to soak and saturate it all up, and it's got to keep moving. It's got to keep moving.
And it's the old saying: I don't want to teach you how. I don't want to fish for you. I'm going to teach you how to fish.
It just
right?
comes down
it's
to
that
that.
simple.
It comes down to that. But it's been said so much.
I know. No, I know. It loses its power. I mean, you explain it much better than I could even begin.
Thank you.
But I'm still very, very rough around the edges. No, I mean, that's the ultimate success story, because now you're building her self-image. Just think about, which I know you've done plenty, of what now she's going to be able to give back to her kids, right? Now we're starting to change, right? We need a starting point, and that's what you guys are.
The starting point is hope.
Yeah.
Transformation doesn't start to happen until there's hope, and I don't mean wishful thinking.
Yep.
Hope. There's heavier words that come with hope, and a couple of them is shelter and refuge, confidence and trust. When you have a shelter and a refuge in something or someone, and for us, it's we're faith-based. It's God. Yeah. He's unchangeable. He's unshakable. His love is always there. He's faithful. He means what he says. And when hope can be placed in a rock, a shelter and a refuge, where you can have complete and utter trust and confidence in it, I mean, there's just nothing you can't do. Now, because I brought up the faith-based thing, I do want to address the fact that anybody is welcome.
Yeah.
If you don't, I will always share the gospel. I will always share that, because first of all, it's my prerogative. I live in where there's freedom of religion, freedom of speech in this country. Yes. Our organization is faith-based, but we will talk about everything. There's not a subject under the sun that we won't talk about, because this is life. And there's not a single person, not a single mother that I would turn away for any kind of lifestyle, any kind of choice. I don't care what it is, because they're welcome. Yeah. No matter what.
Yeah. I mean, and I could feel it. I mean, obviously I feel the passion, and it's in your soul. I mean, it's in your soul. And
can I tell you this?
You can.
It's not me. I'm not a very compassionate person. We talked about my personality earlier. It does have a tendency to be blunt and abrasive. And I've never been someone that hung out with women. Women hurt me. Women were drama and gossip, and they have a tendency to respond to life out of the emotional way that they feel about the bottom line facts. So I've always had guys as friends. And about 10 years ago, I'm a certified and licensed massage therapist, and so when I went through school and then started working in a day spa, this group of women absolutely embraced me and loved me like I'd never been loved before by women. And they just wouldn't take no for an answer, and they took me out. I was going through bankruptcy and divorce, and these women are still very important to me in my life, still very close friends of mine. But they really shifted my perspective on how enriching women can be to each other. And I still love men's perspective. I love men's logic and rationale in the way that, you know, most of their thinking is analytical, because I identify with that. But truly my life experience and what I believe that God has orchestrated for me to experience has led me to SMURF. Because if you'd told me 20 years ago that I would be, you know, leading an organization for women, I wouldn't have just laughed. I probably would have punched you in the throat. I'm like, just saying, you know, I would have just been like,
right? Are you crazy?
You have the wrong woman.
Right. You're looking around like, me?
I'm sorry.
Right? But look at the evolution.
Oh, I
look
love
at the evolution, and look what it's done.
I love it.
You know, the gifts, and you know, it's funny when I share things that have helped me and I believe could help other people. There's, you know, I'll have people say, "Oh my God, that was so great! Thank you so much." And I always say, it's a win-win. When I talk about this and I share this, it raises, I call it vibration, right?
Yes.
It raises my vibration, so it's always a win-win. That's what I love about Monster Motivator TV. Every time
That's not really fair. You get to experience that all the time.
I love it.
And you did this on purpose, didn't you? You set this up so that you can.
I'll tell you what.
All these wonderful people.
You know, it stinks, but somebody has to do it, as they say. So, what else can you share? What else that I didn't talk about that you want to share and make sure that you get out there, whether it's personal or whether it's the organization, because I know you have a ton of golden nuggets.
What I want to share is the vision that the SMURF board and I have for SMURF.
Perfect.
And the program will always be the cornerstone of SMURF, because that's where really the magic happens. It really does. When the women interact, I play games with them that forces them to interface, and they find out that they've been sitting next to a treasure, literally, for the last several weeks. They didn't know that her strength was my weakness. And that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the program is just a vital, it is the cornerstone that is SMURF. But the tools that the women learn and begin to implement, whether it's in parenting, budgeting, whatever it might be, when your roommate walks off and you're already 2 months back in your rent, and all of a sudden you're evicted and you have no place to go and you have 2 small children, you find yourself in your car, you're homeless. Do you belong in a program where it largely serves those who have mental issues and substance abuse issues?
Right. It's not that.
Is the little bit of support that you're receiving from whether it's an ex or however that's working, does that even qualify you to fit you into this program? Often it doesn't. These women are finding themselves in this strange middle place. They don't make enough, but they make too much.
Yeah, they're in limbo.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now, these women that are implementing these tools and then they find themselves in their car, I've lived out of my car. I'm like, you'll be fine. Truly you will.
Right.
You can do this.
Right.
But the tools that they've learned have to be set to the side because it comes down to survival.
Okay.
Period.
Okay.
Where's your 4-year-old going to go to the bathroom at 2 o'clock in the morning? When the squad car passes by and the floodlight fills your car, they're crying babies that have to be calmed. Or you have to move because it's illegal to park on the side of the street overnight. And this is just reality.
It's real.
They're not pushing their babies around town because if they are found out that they don't have shelter, they will absolutely take the children. Yeah. I had another woman who, full-time job, she's a teacher. She's strong. She's courageous. She's an amazing person. She is supportive to me. But, I just in her words and her prayer for me. But the house that she thought was going to be coming in the divorce settlement, her world got shaken a bit. All right, so we'll press forward. I need to get an apartment. She has 3 children. She has $1,000 to spend on rent.
Wow.
You can't find an apartment with one bedroom, maybe with one bedroom, but California state law requires that you have 2 bedroom if you have 3 children.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And so we find ourselves in this strange place. So I really believe that SMURF can be part of a solution for at least this demographic.
Okay.
And then on a broader scale, I really feel like our local city governments, if they would hear us, the smaller nonprofits that are around, and empower us financially. And I realize that they have limited funds as well.
Sure.
They have things that funds are designated for. I understand that. But when you have a broadly scoped program that doesn't fit everything, you've got nonprofits in the area that are experts in these different demographics. Why not help fund their vision of being able to house these different people? And if I could just say a little bit more about just the homeless situation, I really feel like we need to respond and intervene as a community or local government to people that are not housed or sheltered by the way that they respond to community. In other words, we have those with mental issues and substance abuse issues. There's an intervention that is required for them because of the way that they're not able, health-wise, to respond, okay? Right. But then you have somebody where there's been this cataclysmic event that has happened in their lives. You're not going to need to intervene in that same way. If they could just be sheltered for 3-4 months and be able to
get back on their feet.
Their feet. They're back in it.
That's a different.
Then you have hustlers that they live a gypsy lifestyle, and they don't have any desire to be part of. And I was talking to one the other day.
Their intention's a little different.
You have no desire to be part of the legal community. They have their own rules for sure. They self-govern, and it's quite violent. But they don't have any desire to be part. But they still participate in community. How do they do that? They are taking. They're sleeping in our parks. They're using our facilities. Who are those being paid for?
Yeah.
And so if you're going to be part of this community, then you have to do something that gives back. You might not be part of the larger community that most of us are.
You have to play by the rules.
But this is how you want to live, okay, but this is what's going to be required of you by our...
If you want to do this.
If you want to partake in this part of the community.
Absolutely.
So I just think that there's a different way of looking at it. Okay. And then I had a woman come into my office the other day she says, I've heard on the street that SMURF is going to be providing housing. And I was like, oh, I wish that was true. It's just, I don't have 2 dimes to rub together right now, but it is in our future. So she was kind of bummed, and I said, well, are you a single mother? And she says, no. And I'm not a veteran either. And I'm not disabled either. And I don't have a substance abuse problem either. I'm just a woman. There's nothing out there that can help me. And I'm just like, we're not responding to humans. We're responding to these tag things. You know what I mean? Okay. And
so, but what was her, what happened?
Walked out of my office.
No, but I mean, what was her deal? What was her issue?
She had medical issues that had taken away, and then there's always personal things that go on. Somebody walks away from another person and legal things that are going on.
Okay, I got you. Right.
I mean, the stories can be just...
Oh, I'm sure. Sure.
There's so much.
It's life. But, at the end of the day, we might articulate it differently, but we still have the same core beliefs. At the end of the day, like you just talked about, and you broke it down much nicer than I did, is it's about accountability, but you have to have a starting point, right? And there has to be consequences, right? When and the great thing I always say is we don't make the rules, life does, right? And life says you have to earn it. Life says you have to earn it, and sometimes it takes some people longer because of the circumstances to learn that, or some don't, or whatever. But what I love about your organization, from what I'm hearing, is there's a starting point, right? There's something. So how can people give back?
To SMURF? Funds.
Okay.
I need private donors. I need business donors.
Now,
I need meal providers.
Okay, so let me ask you this: how about people that don't have the funds? Can they volunteer?
Most definitely. Okay. We have a kids program. Okay. I have the meal provider part of it. Okay. I have had so many people from this community come in and speak to our women about everything.
And I have an awesome girl for you.
Well,
speak?
And you too.
Oh, I'd love to. Okay. I'd love to. Oh yeah. I have no question. But I have an awesome lady that has turned her life around, and is killing it, and she loves to speak.
Love it.
She's creating up in Riverside. She has her own women's group up there. You know,
Okay.
just a group that gets together.
Yeah.
Nothing like this. You know, it's not a nonprofit or anything, but she loves it,
Yeah.
and she's lived it. She's, you know, this isn't from a book. This isn't from, I heard
I understand.
that this guy, like
I understand.
listen, we've lived it, and that's the bottom line. And I wouldn't want it any different. I'll be honest with you. I wouldn't want my past any other different, any other way. Honestly,
I wouldn't either, because
Honest to God.
I wouldn't know what, somebody posted on Facebook the other day, thank you, Lord, for not allowing me to become the person that I was trying to be.
Mhm.
And, the person that I thought I was going to be, I'm so glad that I'm not that woman.
You know?
Truly.
Yeah, and
Truly.
and I'm sure you tell the women this, because I work with some of the Warfighter Made, which is a nonprofit, and they put together, they fabricate right in Temecula, they fabricate custom vehicles for wounded vets, and they're working on one right now with a triple amputee.
You know what? I think I've talked to these people.
Oh,
Yeah.
Robert Blanton, great, what a great guy. But everything that they've gone through, right? All the things that they've seen, all the devastation,
Yes.
all that. It's funny when or anybody has, not even them, anybody. It's I always share this. If they have trouble with their past, whether it's guilt, whether it's shame, whatever that is, I always say your story isn't about you. You went through it for the other person that's going through it now. And it takes the pressure off and it's real. I truly believe that. My past isn't about me. My past is about the people that I can help, right? And all I can do in my power is share it. Whoever it resonates with, right? But I think that takes the pressure off for so many people that feel guilty or feel ashamed of their past. Embrace it, because you made it, right? You made it. So now I look at it as almost an obligation to share that, because you don't know who you're going to impact, So that's my rant. That's my rant.
No, I mean, absolutely. One of the times on Sundays, I ask the moms, first of all, I'm doing this thing because of this person that invited me to this thing, and then
Yeah.
I met and I told them the whole little thing. They get there, and I was like, can you guys look back on your life and where you're at right now, and kind of piece together some of those things, and really give thanks for all of those things coming together. And I had one of my moms raise my hand, and she goes, I just realized this is a woman who is on her second surrogacy. Because, she didn't know why. But she said at the time, now I realize why it was so important for me to do that. In doing what you just said, looking back, she said, my dad and my stepmom, they were having a lot of trouble conceiving. We weren't happy with her. There was a lot of family turmoil. But when they were finally able to conceive, it brought so much joy. And she said, I just realized that just going back and watching everything kind of piece together, and the people that were involved in that process, that I wanted to make myself available and to a process for somebody else to find joy like that.
That's
and finding it, and when that light comes on, and you're just like, oh.
What's great. I just I was just speaking to a girl not long ago, and she was telling me about, she feels guilty or like ashamed of her past, or I should say, she's afraid to share her past because of what other people are going to think. So as we got talking, she says, well, a few years ago, I was really at my lowest point, and what got me through, and this is exactly what she said. She goes, what got me through was I remember my dad went through really rough times, and he shared those stories with me, and I found myself almost in the same position as my dad, right? And, but because he got through it and he shared that story with me, that pulled me through it. So then I said, because it's so hard to see the picture inside the frame, I said, okay, then why should you not share the same story and help somebody else out? And it was like, she goes, I never thought of that, right? So her dad's story pulled her through the roughest time she's ever had in her life, right? 4 or 5 years ago. She's a completely different woman, but still being pulled and being antagonized by that past when it really means nothing, right? It takes people different ways of looking at it, but at the end of the day, you went through that for a reason. And I say wear it as a badge. I honestly,
well, and
I do. I'd say
we can be sympathetic, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, people need to be seen. And when we're in the grocery store, when we're at Starbucks, wherever it is that we're at, if we're just going through life, you know, on our phones or, you know, whatever the case may be, people need so badly to be seen and just have, even just if it's a brief second of connectedness. But then when there's a little bit longer period of that, you can express sympathy, but sympathy doesn't really reach the person. Oh, I'm sorry that happened. But empathy is something that comes from being vulnerable yourself. And then it creates a pathway for them to start coming out of where they're at, wherever that may be. You may not get to be present for the harvest of what they are able to finally, but it's so important.
Oh man, I love that. I'm getting very, I get the chills when you talk about this because and I never thought of it this way until you just said this, right? Sympathy is more of an enabler. Empathy is more of a support. See, and you don't, and you know, that's a horrible word, right? In addiction world, enabling. I mean, it's horrible, right? Because it gets nobody. It's such a lose-lose, right? Instead of a win-win.
Well, it just
I never
contributes to
thought
more
of that.
acting out.
I never connected that. But empathy to me it's support.
Yes.
Sympathy is enabling.
Yeah.
I love that. Love it. Thank you.
Yes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Anything else before we jump off that I didn't talk about that you want to share? Because it's this is your episode. This is you run with it.
I just so much desire to get out the word of SMURF to single mothers, to providers, to donors, to businesses, to those who would like to share their wisdom and expertise at SMURF with my moms. I still have a few speaker dates open. You know, so just
give me those dates. I might be able to fill some. I can fill some.
Yeah,
I can fill some.
So we will do that most definitely. But call me at 951-541-8574. You'll reach me even if you don't want to. But call that number and info@smurfmom.com. Email me.
And we're going to share all that info.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing. If you know somebody that can benefit from this show, please share it. And give them a little note and tell them to look at this and reach out. Reach out. She's here. That's what she does. This is her passion. This is her calling. I mean, this is where you're supposed to be, right? So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you share this because we all know somebody out there that could use this service, that could use this support. And if you know any speakers in the SoCal area, please have them reach out. We'd love to have them come and share their story because it's their responsibility. So, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Keep making it happen. That a girl.